Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Okay. So I believe you are doing well. I am blessed. I believe you are doing well. Okay. So I've just shared with you the attendance sheet. So for last week, no, yeah. So this is the attendance for last week. I hope I have captured all your class members, class rep. Class rep, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So all your members have been captured, right? Check, you can check, and then class members. So you can also check if your name is not here. You
No,
let.
sir. It seems one person is missing over there, sir.
Oh, really?
Yes, Ignatius. Although he didn't partake last week, he didn't partake last
Okay. So I took the list from the system.
week. Okay, sir.
So probably he's not registered. I don't know. Is Ignatius here?
No, sir, but I'll get back to him right now so that he gains then
Because last week
he here.
he was absent, and then today too.
For now, he has not yet gained, sir. So I'm getting in touch
So
with him again, sir.
okay, that's fine.
Thank you, sir.
And do you have Sarah here? Sarah, sit down. Sanam is absent. Okay. All right. So I will come back to the attendance after our meeting. Okay. So I hope you have been able to access the course materials. Have you gotten the course materials from the system? The the slides, the recommended textbook, and then the outline, the rest. Have you been able to access them, class members? If you're online, please, I want to hear from you. You can't keep mute.
No, sir, not yet, sir.
No, sir, the slides is not yet.
No, but have you been checking the system, the portal? Do you go there at all? The LMS.
Not really.
So the
But
documents are there. All the documents are there.
Okay, sir.
Hey, I see.
Yes, sir,
Okay, so
I
last.
tried reaching Ignatius, but it seems his phone is off, sir.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
So, is it just my course or all the other courses last week and this week?
No, last week I learned he wasn't in town, but as of today, that I don't know anything of it. But I'll still try to reach him, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, like I mentioned, the documents are, are on the LMS, so you need to access them. We, in fact, for the slides, I've given you week 1 up to week 6. The rest of the slides will follow maybe next week. And then I'm expecting all of you to, get the slides, go through them, and prepare as we move or progress into the semester. So last week we started with the scope and influence of procurement, where we defined procurement. We also distinguish procurement from purchasing because the two terms are closely related. So sometimes people, academics, professionals find it difficult to even know the distinction. So we did distinguish between the two related concepts. And then from there, we talked about the basic objectives or the specific objectives of procurement. We talked about that. We talked about the scope of procurement function. We also talked about the scope of procurement. Procurement, the actual procurement, the scope of it. When we talk about procurement, what actually, falls or comes within, the discipline. So we looked at that. And then I think we considered the procurement cycle. I'm sure we did something on procurement cycle. So that is that. But I'll go back to the cycle today to maybe do a recap about the cycle. So that is what we'll be doing today. And then we also consider the procurement principles. I know you are conversant with them, but we go back to that. And then we will finish the day with the procurement objective. So in explaining the cycle, I said that the procurement cycle is more or less the roadmap for the procurement process. And that process establishes the key activities required at every stage of the procurement process. So the process starts with the identification of the need. That is the first stage of the entire procurement process. So you will need to identify the process, and then it continues to the final stage. So the cycle is really, really important. So here are some of the important facts about the procurement cycle. It provides useful benchmark for procurement monitors and evaluators to carry out their duties effectively. So if you say you are doing procurement work, then at least you should be following the cycle. So at every point in time, if auditors or other evaluators or monitors come to your organization and decide to evaluate your performance, they will do that based on what you've been doing with the cycle. So they will consider your performance at every stage of the cycle, from the identification of the need, or from the planning stage to sourcing, contracting management, to all the other stages of the cycle. So that is one key relevance of the cycle. And then it gives direction and provides step-by-step approach to the implementation of the procurement activity. So that is another critical thing about the cycle. So it gives the direction, because it will tell you that once you get here, you need to do A, B, and C. So at the planning stage, what are the specific things we need to do? You need to do that. When you get to the second stage or the sourcing stage, what you do, or what is expected to be done at the sourcing stage will be there. So you can't be doing contracting activities at the sourcing stage. So you need to follow that. And then it also provides, yes, I've already talked about that. Even though storage, distribution, and then disposal are not core to the procurement function, The model lays emphasis on them to highlight the important contribution to effective management of the entire supply chain to achieve the required economic, social, and environmental outcome. So, critically, if you look at, these activities I've mentioned here, storage or storing, distribution, disposal may not be, central or core to the procurement function, but they are actually part. Okay, they are not core, more or less secondary, because I mentioned that in some institutions, store is sometimes under, finance and the rest. Okay, so that is why, in some books, once we get to, the contract management, then we come to the end of the cycle. So from contract management, then we move straight to evaluation. Okay, we move straight to evaluation, like you see here. Okay, so we start from the first stage, the sourcing, the planning stage, which is also known as the funding stage or the budgeting stage. Then we have the sourcing stage or phase, we have the contracting, and then in contract management. Then we have storing, distribution, disposal to evaluation. So let's quickly run through those activities again, like we did last week. So the planning stage is the first stage of the procurement process where procurement requirements are determined and specified by the user. Okay, so at this stage, the need is identified. So once you identify the need, doesn't end there. You need to come out with a specification. You define your requirements. Okay, and then you also need to budget for the proposed procurement. How much would that cost the organization? You need to budget for it. Where are you getting the funds from? Are you getting it from internally or from external source? You need to indicate. Okay, so the planning stage encompasses the make or buy decision, whether to make the item or to purchase it outright. Here, decisions will be taken on the funding, as I've already mentioned, and then procurement rules and the method of procurement. Example, if the procurement will make use of open or restricted tendering. So you need to, it will be decided here. Even though these specifics are normally performed at the subsequent stages, but all these activities are considered at the planning stage. So that's why I've been saying that the planning stage is the most crucial stage. All other stages are important, but the planning stage is very crucial because it encompasses almost all the subsequent stages. So if you mess up, if you get things wrong at the planning stage, the entire procurement process will be a complete mess. So you need to take time and then go through the planning stage. Okay, so a timetable for the procurement process will be prepared the year. We will do A, B, C, final or the fourth quarter of the year, maybe payment will be made and all that. So, it comes out with the timetable. Okay, then we come to the second stage, which is known as sourcing stage. So the sourcing stage, the activity to be undertaken at this stage include pre-qualification of potential suppliers. So sometimes it is important to pre-qualify some suppliers because not all suppliers deserve the attention. Okay, so you deal with only serious organizations. So you do pre-qualification and then you focus on only preferred or pre-qualified suppliers. And then preparation and issuance of tender documents are also done at the sourcing stage. Preparation and issuance of tender documents. So once sourcing, when you talk about sourcing, it's about identifying, selecting, and developing, suppliers. So once you identify, once you are selecting, then you need to come out with the tender documents. Okay, and then whatever method you want to use, request for quotation or request for proposal would have to be decided on. And then there's what we call expression of interest. Okay, and then evaluation of responses. So once you receive, you advertise. Once you communicate the proposed procurement to potential suppliers, and then they also responded to, you need to come and evaluate the responses you have received. Maybe from, if you did open tendering to have a number of competitors, so you need to sit down and evaluate. And then the purpose for the evaluation is for you to arrive at what? A successful tender, so that you can do business with that particular tender. All right. So once you are done, the thing is that you communicate, you select the successful tenderer, and then negotiation may be required. So if the need arises for negotiation to be done, and I mentioned that negotiation is not just about the procurement value. Sometimes you want to negotiate on delivery dates. You would want to negotiate on payment terms. Okay, maybe the cost is this. You want the payment to be done, at once, but the buyer is pushing for, part payments or tranches or batches. So you need to negotiate and then come to a common consensus. Then we come to the third stage, which is known as contracting. So here, formal contract documents are drawn up. The agreed terms and conditions are indicated and signed by both parties. So simpler requirements may use a purchase order, very simple. Or where existing framework contract exists, contracting may consist of placing a call-off order under the existing framework contract. And then for open competitive tendering, there will be tender. Okay, there will be tender documents distributed to potential providers or suppliers. So once they respond to, the tender document, then you need to make arrangement to evaluate and select the successful tenderer at the contracting stage. Then you come to the fourth stage, which is known as contract management. So the awarded contract must be managed. So once you award a contract at the contracting stage, the obligations are known, the terms and conditions are known to the parties involved. Then there's a need to manage the contract. And then the purpose of managing the contract is to ensure that the obligations of the participant are duly followed. So activities of good contract management may include delivery is arranged. Okay, so you arrange the delivery time, and then arrangement for inspection of freight forwarding. You also make arrangements for that. And then financial arrangements such as checking bank guarantees and establishing letters of credit. And then there's something we call arrangements for receipt and installation of goods. Okay, and then verifying documentation. So once everything is done, you verify everything is in there, then you effect payment. So for West contract, it often requires technical supervision by an engineer. For West contract, it's a requirement. So you need to have a supervisor who is a registered engineer. And then contracts for consultancy or technical services often require the direct participation of the buyer or client organization as the recipient of training or technical advice, or in responding to studies or reports. So after contract management, Sometimes all goods do not go directly into consumption or production. So where goods are not being used immediately, there's often a need to store them. Okay, so you need to first of all know the nature of the good. So conditions for storage are considered because certain commodities demand or require special storage systems. Okay, some items do well under cold, environment. Others do well under humid environment, among others. So you need to consider all those factors before thinking about storing your unused items. Then we talk about distribution. This involves moving goods to their final destinations and end users. So distribution may involve complex in-country supply chains with delivery to multiple regional store facilities or end user facilities. And then to the last but one phase. I'm running fast because this was done last week. So just a recap. Then we have what we call disposal. So unserviceable, obsolete, or surplus stocks need to be disposed of. Conditions, however, may vary. So conditions for disposing the items may vary from an organization to another. Okay, so you may think that, oh, the product has expired, or it's toxic, or it is obsolete, old, seasonal goods, desktop, among others. Okay, so all these situations or conditions may guarantee the disposal of a product. So depending on the nature of the goods and their condition, they may be sold by public tender or auction, transferred to another public organization, or even destroyed. Appropriate adjustments must be made to account to reflect the value of the goods disposed and any income received. And then the final phase or stage has to do with evaluation. And the evaluation here is not the same as the evaluation at the sourcing stage. The evaluation at the sourcing stage focuses on selecting what? A successful tender. That is the focus. But the evaluation here is not about the selection of the successful tender. So controlling the performance of the purchasing function, ensuring its efficiency and effectiveness is essential to the management of the procurement process. So this means that evaluation of the procurement process is essential. It identifies any weakness or problems. So the evaluation will identify weaknesses and problems associated with the procurement process. And we are doing that because in subsequent procurement, once we identify the problems and then you're able to come out with solution, in subsequent procurement activity, you will not repeat or commit the same mistakes you did at the initial procurement process. So preventive actions to solve identified problems are proposed and agreed on actions to prevent similar problems in the future. Evaluation may include a formal procurement audit, and you are doing that just to identify or establish procurement gaps for better improvements in the future. Okay. So that is that with procurement cycle. I don't know if you have questions with that procurement cycle. We started with it last week, so that is why I was running very fast. So if you have one or two questions on the cycle, please ask. Okay, I think you are good. Then we come to procurement principles. So once you call yourself a procurement person, then you need to understand that the profession comes with principles, and we need to adhere to those principles. But the question is, what are they? Are they rules? Are they values? Who needs to know about them? What is the ethical behavior? So you need to examine the procurement principles. So public as well as private procurements are subject to overarching principles. Okay. Anyone involved in procurement activities must be familiar with the principles and apply them in their daily practice. Now the question is, when we say principles, what comes to mind? What are principles?
Um,
Who is ready to, respond to the question? When we say principle, what are they? Okay, Enoch,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
I believe, yes, please. Principles, they are guides or a way one to follow in a particular environment. So they guide you on how to behave or how to do things in that environment. So I believe they are guidelines or a guide for people. That's what I believe principles are.
Wonderful. So that is also some. When you say he is principle, you can't just, do this. He is principle. Yes.
The people that lay down format that one is to apply.
Kwesi, your voice is
They lay
far.
down format.
Oh, Kwesi, your voice is far. Okay, Philip.
yeah, so I would say principles are um, values or they are personal or societal values that guide choices and dictate what is right or wrong.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so that is good. So like Enoch mentioned, more or less, yeah, guidelines, more or less. Okay, so as individuals, we have the way we go about things. So when we say, I'm not for this, it's fine, I'm not for it, there's nothing you can do to actually change that. So as a professional person, procurement person, you need to adhere to them. More or less, um, the guidelines or the guide serves as guide. So you can't call yourself a procurement person without, adhering to, those principles. So we look at them briefly, the principles. So these are the principles, and they must be adhered to by all practitioners. So we have what we call professionalism, we have competitiveness, we have value for money, we have fairness, we have transparency, ethical approach, accountability, efficiency, effectiveness, and then the final one is separation of duties. So these are the principles. These are the principles. So if you call yourself a Christian, there's something we call commandments. Okay? So the commandments are there, and all Christians are supposed to follow the commandments religiously. The same applies to this. So once you call yourself a professional, you must adhere to these principles religiously. So the principles are not separated from, the practitioners. It moves together. So when we talk about principle of professionalism, we say that professionalism is the discipline whereby educated, experienced, and responsible procurement officers make informed decisions regarding purchasing operations. Informed decisions. So the role of procurement professional is critical to Ghana's economic development. And so we are expecting practitioners to make informed decisions. Informed decision in the sense that you don't just say we are using strategy A, strategy B. We are buying this product. We are leasing the product. We are borrowing. Okay, so if you say that we are going to borrow, it means that this is not just coming from your head. You might have, evaluated the situation, and then under the circumstance, recommending the best option to the organization. Okay, so as a professional, it means that your judgment is based on something. Okay, so we say when educated, experienced, and responsible person make an informed decision. So every decision you arrive at is supported by something. Okay, so that is that. So if you are just making decisions, the decision is not based on anything, then we can classify you as a professional. And then there's another principle known as the principle of what? Transparency. Transparency. Transparency means that the same rules apply to all suppliers of goods, works, and services, and that these rules are publicized as the basis of procurement decisions prior to their use. The same rules. The same rules. So if we are demanding a bank guarantee from suppliers, it is the same to all suppliers. To all suppliers that are participating in the company's procurement process. So we don't just ask certain people to maybe present certain information or document, and the others are just left alone, and that is not a good thing. And sometimes those who are not disturbed are the successful ones. So once people realize that this is what the organization has been doing, it will not be a good thing for the organization. So we need to do that. So transparency enables the creation of open, fair, and transparent procedures. It encourages inward investment and competitiveness as organization is seen as a responsible business partner. So we need to be transparent in our procurement engagement. And then one critical principle is the principle of value for money. Value for money. So when we talk about value for money, we say it is the optimal combination of whole life costs and quality to meet the customer's requirements. Value for money. So it is reflected in the price of the item or service procured. And then it is a critical measure of the effectiveness of the procurement process, its output and outcomes. So achieving value for money requires a strategic and integrated approach to procurement. It's not easy to do that. It's not easy to achieve value for money. So the fact that maybe supplier is cool with you does not mean that you are achieving what we call value for money. Okay, so basically when we talk about value for money, it means that the buyer or get the same level of satisfaction from the amount of money they spent on a particular product. Okay, so sometimes we buy food. I remember one time I went to a restaurant at Achimota Mall to eat fufu. So when the fufu was served, I think I paid 120 or so. I ordered for fufu with tilapia, like soup or something. I tasted the tilapia, I didn't like the taste. The soup, I didn't like it. The fufu was something. Then quickly I washed my hand and then I left. So when I go home, I said, this fufu there, I didn't achieve or get value for money because the level of satisfaction I derived from consuming the fufu was not the same as the amount I paid. In other words, the amount I paid was a bit higher than the satisfaction I derived. So once that is the case, then we say that there's no value for money. So if you are pushing for value for money, it means that the same level of satisfaction is received as per the amount we pay for goods and services. So it is a critical procurement principle, value for money. And look at this, the principle of competitiveness. So actively encouraging greater supplier participation in the tendering process through advertising, sourcing reviews, pre-qualification, and transparent procedure. So competition is something procurement wants. Procurement wants competition in the process. Because once there's competition, buyers are able to get competitive deals. Competitive. So as we speak, the default method of procurement is competitive. Competitive tendering method is the default procurement method. And it's because of this principle of competitiveness. Competitiveness. So we want competition in the procurement process because anytime there is competition, the value the buyer achieves is huge in terms of the amounts they pay, in terms of the quality they receive from suppliers. Because once they know that they are in competition with suppliers, not one, multiple suppliers, they want to offer quality, they want to offer competitive pricing. Okay, so that if they overprice, their bid will be what? Rejected. So once there is competition, suppliers don't overprice their products because they know that they are in competition. Then again, because they know that buyers will be evaluating or assessing their product, they will also offer quality product just to be in the procurement process. So the merit of competitiveness include one, potential for cost savings, like I've mentioned, because I know that competition, I can overprice. So I'll be offering, competitive pricing just so I can be in the procurement process. And then increases the potential supplier base. So once there is competition, it increases what the supply base. So once the base is huge, then obviously it gives the best of procurement outcome. And then greater awareness of new developments. Okay, so competition will bring about innovation. So suppliers will be introducing something new to you. Okay, so you may think that, you are dealing with the best product. Before you realize, another supplier is also providing a better deal. So, it provides greater awareness of new development. Then there's greater understanding and confidence in the procurement process. If you're able to go through this competitive tendering to the end, because you'll be meeting with a lot of people, sometimes you meet with the 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 general managers of this company, the CEOs or the council chairs, among others. So you meet top people, and as a result, you're able to build your confidence level to an enviable point. Mode of solicitation in competitive tendering. So solicitation for procurement of a project, good or service in a competitive procurement environment is done through request for quotation. That is a way of going about the procurement principles. And there's what we call invitation to tender or invitation to bid, ITT or ITB, invitation to tender. Okay, so for some procurement, we don't use request for quotation or RFK forms. We use actual letters coming from the buyers or the suppliers. Then we have the principle of what? Accountability. Principle of accountability. So the process of holding an individual or an organization fully responsible for all aspects of the procurement process over which they exert authority. Accountability. So your actions and your inactions, you account for it. So if you're not doing right today, you account for it tomorrow. Okay, so you don't just act. So that's why you need to make an informed decision as a professional, because you could be called upon at any point in time to come and differentiate the decision you took maybe 3 years, 5 years, or some years ago. So fairness in procurement implies showing consideration and impartiality in all stages of the procurement process, especially demonstrating equality in tender evaluation. Equality in tender evaluation, fairness. So fairness results in the development of mutual trust. Mutual trust. Once I know your company's situation, once you know mine, and then you are struggling to pay for things you have ordered, I will understand that, oh, our supplier is going through difficult moments. So let's give her or him some time to settle or to pay back the monies they took. So it is important we look at these principles. And then we have, I think last but one, efficiency. So efficient procurement means a system which operates in a timely manner with a minimal bureaucracy while being responsive to the needs of the ultimate users of the goods or facilities procured. And then the final one is separation of duties. So no one individual in the procurement process should be responsible for requesting a procurement action, writing the specification of the item or scope of work, soliciting bids or proposal, approving awards and payment, and taking delivery of the items procured. Okay, so it is the reason why we want to separate. So you can't be just one person managing all the activities at the procurement department. If that happens, it means that there will be, some of the things you compromise on, especially if it has to do with your relatives or family members. Okay, so we need to be very careful. The same way, you come to the professional level and then people are doing funny things. People are doing funny things. So that is that. Then we have what we call ethical approach or ethics. So ethics is concerned with moral principles and values which govern our beliefs, actions, and decisions. So ethical approach implies exemplary approach to all procurement processes that cannot be questioned or criticized. Questioned or criticized. So ethics is important in procurement for the following reason. One, procurement staff members are the representatives of their organization in its dealing with suppliers. Okay, so if the outside companies see you as a professional, somebody who respects privacy, they will give you that needed respect, that for this company, they don't joke with their integrity. They are always doing the right thing. Okay, so it is really good. And then sound ethical conduct is in dealing with suppliers is essential to the creation of good relationship and the establishment of supplier goodwill. It is impossible to claim professional status for procurement without reference to consideration of its ethical aspects. And then procurement staff are probably more exposed to the temptation to act unethically than most other employees. So these are some of the, the principles. So I want you to look at the principles carefully and then know when to use these principles. Learn about the principles, know when to use or apply those principles. Results of upholding procurement principles. So when your entity decides to uphold procurement principles, what will be the effects? What will be the effect or the outcome or the results? One, there's what we call increased efficiency in the procurement function. Increased efficiency. Because I will account for my actions and inactions, I will not waste time, like that. I want to do my work so that I'll get positive feedback. Okay, so it is a very good thing. And then there's what we call procurement operations become more effective. More effective. So you are somewhere, and then through electronic system, you're able to communicate with your contractor or your workers. Okay, so you do that just to ensure that everything is intact. So it is good for us to ensure these principles. And then procurement operations become more effective. So once you know that people are adhering to the principle, it becomes effective. They are not wasting time unduly, okay, because they know that it is not just them. People are also watching what they are doing. So if you are not doing the right thing, you need to account. Okay, so it makes the procurement process more effective. And the enhanced profile of procurement. So once the entity is tagged as one that adheres to principles, people will tag you. If you do bad things, people will tag you. If you do good things, people will tag you. So once people are tagging you for a good thing, I think it's a positive feedback, and you need to keep it up. People will be saying, "Oh, this person, he's responsible. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that." Okay, so even though people are talking, but it is a good talk, so they should continue talking about you. And then improved the achievement of the objectives. And upholding these principles improve achievement of objectives. Because procurement has an objective to, achieve. And to be able to do that means that we need to comply or go by those principles. So it helps the organization to achieve its objective. And then professionalism of procurement in Ghana. So if all professionals are practicing, going by the procurement principles, and then the business, it helps. Okay, so everybody will say that, oh, Ghana, the procurement professionals are top class. They know what they are doing. It's not because they know, they are aware that they are likely to account for their action and their inaction. So they need to be doing things right so that in case they are called to come and defend, they will, find favor from whoever they are reporting to. Okay, so we need to do that. So the procurement objective. So there's The objective of procurement is to procure products of the right quality, supplied in the right quantity to the right place at the right time for the right price. So all the principles we just mentioned, why are we adhering to them? To be able to achieve this objective, that at the end of the day, whether it is procurement of goods or waste procurement, we are able to get it at the right, quality, supplied at the right quantity to the right place at the right time for the right price. So we need to. So when we talk about right quality, quality is the degree or level of excellence as perceived by the customer. It may also be viewed as the product or service being fit for purpose. Fit for purpose. So quality is also performing right first time, every time, and involves meeting requirement, fitness for purpose, minimum variance, elimination of waste, continuous improvement, culture, among others. Okay, so if individual A changes their way of doing things, and now they are getting all the positive feedback, then it will in itself be a huge motivation for other players to actually throw on the same target. So it is good. All right. Then we have what we call right quantity. So we just mentioned right quality. Right quality. And then we are talking about right quantity. So right quantity to be ordered by the buyer and sold by the supplier will attempt to balance the requirements of both parties. So lower prices can be negotiated for larger quantity, but this may conflict with storage capacities and production requirements. Right quantity. So if a buyer requested for 100 pieces as a supplier, you don't supply 85 or 90, and then the rest becomes a problem. So you need to supply according to the requirement. And the dependent or independent demand should be established prior to assessing the quantity. And then we have what we call right time. So the time is critical. Time is money. Like others will say, time is money. So you don't have to take the whole time in going through the procurement process. You don't have to do that. If the intended time is a month or 2 weeks to complete this procurement process, it must be done within that time. If you waste time, so instead of using 1 month to do it, now we're using 2 months or 3 months. It means that things are not right with, that variable. So in checking or going through the evaluation, you are likely to see those things and then later come out with strategies to improve the performance. Okay, so you look at availability, market condition, competition, procurement policy, customer demand, among others. So the right time to deliver will be influenced by the supply lead time, the organizational requirement, and then the customer demand. Any question on the procurement objective? And now we are talking about right time. Right time. Any question? Okay. Then we have the next one known as what? Right place. So procurement needs to ensure that a product or services are bought from the right supplier upstream in the supply chain. And in the downstream, it's also a responsibility of procurement to ensure that materials, products, or service are delivered to the right place. Right place. So the university is a multi-campus university with a main campus in Accra. The other campuses include Takrady, Ufori, and Kumasi. So if procurement is undertaking a project, and then inform the contractor or supplier that all items must be supplied to GCTU. Because the supplier is maybe Accra based, might think that the buyer mentioned Kumasi or mentioned Accra. However, the intended purpose was Kumasi. So if it was meant for Kumasi and then the items are delivered at the Accra campus, it means that there are issues with what? Right place. Right place. Because even though it is GCTU, but that's not the intended location. That is not the intended location. Now, let's look at the function of the procurement department when it comes to the entire procurement processes. So the first one is finding and approving supplies. So it is incumbent on the procurement officer to search for suppliers, competent suppliers, financially stable, suppliers with, the right capacity to be able to, produce to meet requirements. So that is that, finding and approving suppliers. And then purchasing at least total cost to the company, total cost. Because there are other children or there are other commitment that needs to be taken care of. So you don't have to be overspending, spending all your company's resources on just one product or services. So you need to be looking at it carefully, trying to bring down the costs of procurement down. And then warning all concerned if deliveries are not going to be met. So sometimes due to some unforeseen circumstances, delivery will be affected. So you need to communicate that. You need to be expediting and then relaying the information to the appropriate quarters for a stopgap measures. So you need to do that. You don't wait to the final moment, then you tell them that, oh, the supplier couldn't supply the item. This would be a huge indictment on your part. And then verifying invoice presented by suppliers. So once invoices are submitted, don't just pay. You need to verify. The verification is just to confirm that you are paying for the right goods and services. Right goods and services. And then organizing all discussions with suppliers, both actual and potential. So organizing all discussions with suppliers, both actual and potential. And then speculative buying is also the mandate of the procurement department. Speculative buying is sometimes the duty of the buying department. What is speculative buying? If I may ask, speculative buying. Is it good to be undertaking speculative buying? What is speculative buying? Yes, Philip, go ahead.
So, sometimes we can anticipate shortages or price increases. So when
Yeah.
we buy goods in anticipation that maybe in the future there will be a price increase or there will be a higher demand or a shortage, rather
Mhm.
than meeting the immediate need, we can do speculative buying.
Okay. Okay, so that is right. So sometimes because we do market research and it's our mandate as procurement officers or professionals. We need to do market research. So maybe from the market research, you will anticipate that prices of goods and services will be going down due to A, B, and C in the next quarter or something. So if prices of goods and services are likely to decrease in the next quarter, what will be your demand now? Can you tell me if you anticipate prices of goods and services to decrease by, you can give a percentage by 10% or by 7%, what will be your demand now, knowing definitely that in the next quarter prices are likely to, decrease? What will happen? Speculative buying. I'm asking you a question. So if you anticipate prices or price reduction in the next quarter, what will be the your demand for goods and services? For such products now, what will be the demand?
So
And I
when
want somebody.
you speculate that prices of product will come down, what you do
Mhm.
is you don't buy more stock. Maybe you just buy very few to keep processing in place until the time prices will be reduced. Then you now buy more stocks for the future. But when you also anticipate there will be increment of
Mhm. Mhm.
prices or anticipate there will be increment of price, that's where you buy in large quantities to stock in order to meet the future increment. Then for you to still
Wonderful,
know. Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. So that is correct. Okay, so that is what we do. So sometimes you just observe the market and realize that things are not going to be the same in the coming weeks or months. So in order to take advantage, maybe to put your company in a very good position, you make certain recommendations. Sometimes you are telling your organization to buy more and store them. So before you say that, let us buy more and store, you should have done your assessment. You should have calculated the cost of storage now. And then putting everything together, you still see some level of advantage over waiting to procure those items when the prices finally, increases by 10% or 8% in maybe next quarter, around October, November, thereabout. Okay, so we need to plan our procurement, and such arrangement will help us to come out with better deals. Okay, better deals. So speculative buying is very good, and it is within the mandate of procurement. Okay, and then
So,
advising on. Okay,
so, so,
you go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah. Please, with the speculative, can we compare it as a hedging? Because I can realize that both are likely to be the same.
Okay, so can you
Maybe,
explain what hedging? Because maybe
mm,
not everybody understands hedging. So when you say hedging, what does it mean? We do
okay.
that.
Okay. The hedging is done when the in case the prices of goods and services are up, and the organization, the buying organization, intends to maybe pay something in advance in case of price fluctuation. The supplier can consider uh, for the supply of goods at on the same price as he used to supply it.
Okay.
For example, is oil companies.
Okay.
As the price is not stable, the government can adopt a hedging approach to
Mm.
sustain the market.
So
That
you
is my
see,
understanding.
yeah, yeah. But you see, from what you just explained, the two are not the same. Okay.
Yeah.
The two are not the same. And if you look at it carefully, there are some limitations with, both strategies. So you need to look at them carefully before you maybe move for maybe one or choose one over the other. Um, the hedging is very common, especially those who buy building materials, the hardwares, iron rods, and the rest. Sometimes they will do it. They do it a lot. Maybe I don't have, I'm not ready to go into construction now. I have money and I'll just pay and then later come for the items. And such people, if you ask them the kind of issues they have when you see, I don't know, people with a color, we are not honest. Okay, we are not honest. We will have agreement with us. And because it is not a written agreement, when it doesn't go in our favor, we want to change things. So me, I will not advise people to do that. But this one, you have your money. The money is in your custody. It's not with anybody. You have your money. You can decide to use the money to do other things. But because you are thinking about the company's financial, fortune, because when we are looking at the specific objective, you mentioned cost reduction. So we are looking at ways to bring down procurement cost. And one of them is to undertake proactive procurement. So even with that, I've been telling people that you need to do thorough assessment. You just don't just look at one side and say that, oh, because prices are coming down, let us go for more production. Now, what about storage costs? What about security? What about, damages? What about theft among others? So you need to add, assign figures or values to all these, and then it will give you a better, decision. Okay, so like the professionalism I talk about, you make an informed decision. So before you say we are going for A, it means that you have considered a number of things. And then looking at the available option, this one may be a, a better option than all alternatives. So don't just look at one side and say that, oh, because this thing is happening, let us buy more. Buy more. What if maybe your premises is attacked by thieves, and then the next moment all the critical items are gone? What are you going to do? Maybe you didn't do insurance. What are you going to do? So, in as much as there are advantages, we need to also look at the disadvantages before we open up. Okay, we open up, because if you're not careful, once you open up, you may be taken by events. So you need to look at that. And then advising on prices for materials or services to be used in new or modified design. So we also advise, especially now that we are moving towards sustainability. So you look for resources that can be recycled, okay, or reused in order to bring the damages down. And then there's something we call acting procurement act as a window on the world to the organization, window on the world. So in case the organization needs any information about, what is happening on the markets in terms of prices, in terms of current products, they can't go to any department apart from procurement, because we are almost always on the ground doing market surveys and research, interrogating people, discussing issues with, the market, so we know what is happening. Okay, so we are more or less, if the employees in our organization, if they want to see things outside, and I'm talking about if they want to see the market well, they can only see that through the procurement department. Okay, so we give all the information. So that is why you must be on top, so that whatever information you are giving, it is a very good information, a detailed information, a reliable information. So you don't just give information. People are making serious decisions because of whatever information you provided. Okay, so you need to be very careful with that. I think, are we done for today? Okay, so uh, yes, yes, yes. So I think that is all for today. If there are questions, you can ask. But I want you to get the slides because now that we are done with week 1 and 2, I'll wait for additional 1 week and then the quizzes and then the assignments will follow. So I want you to start reading and chasing the course material so that you can ask a lot of questions. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me check the attendance. Ezekiel, you have okay, wonderful. So let me take attendance and then we'll be out of here. I traveled. I didn't sleep last night, so I just want to go and rest more. I have another class I taught in the morning. This one too. Another one is coming, so I need to go and rest more before the next one. Okay, so if there are no questions, I am done. So see you next weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Class Prep. Class Prep.
Yes, sir, boss.
Yeah, please, we kindly push the slides on the page so that we do show
Okay,
them.
sir. Okay, sir. Yes.
It's very important.
But sir, please have you sent them to me or you are putting it on the LME?
But do it as you used to do
LMS.
it.
LMS, brother.
Yeah.
But you can send it to the general page.
Okay, sir.
As
That would be
you,
the best.
as you used to do it, please.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So you put it there so that we can overall.
Uh-huh.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.